Hi guys, so in today's discussion assignment we are going to be talking about the entire bike sharing system from what we've been talking about from unit 1 through to unit 8. So let's just get started. So the bike sharing system is used in many cities and then major places in different ways and then in different forms. But then one thing that is common to um, the bike sharing system used across the globe is that they all have the same fundamental procedures for renting bikes, and then for managing users, and then for billing users as well. The bike sharing system is built in such a way that it doesn't need staff presence or employee presence at the docking point. is is a self-service, so whoever wants to rent a bike gets to the docking station and then is able to do everything by themselves, and then when everything is successful they pick up a bike and then they move to wherever they want to go. So that is just an overview of how the bike system works. So this is a pictorial view of a bike sharing system. So to your left we have um, the docking point. So with the bikes. So to your left we have the bicycles at the docking station, and then so all a user needs to do is when the user gets to the docking station, all they need is their mobile device, and then there's an app where they go to um, log in to request for the bike, and then the bike, when everything is successful, when all information are duly answered and then everything is successful, a bike is released to the customer. If the customer does not have a mobile device or the mobile device cannot access the app whatsoever, that aspect is also taken care of because there are computers at the docking point where the customer can go visit the website and then put in the necessary information is needed, and then when everything is done, a bike is released to the customer. So that is how come it is self-service, because you don't need any um, employee, or you don't need any staff at um, the docking station to do any of this. So we move on to look at the system structure and then the components. So we are going to look at how the entire system is going to be structured and then the components. So first of all, there's going to be a system software to manage the availability and then the management of bikes. So what this simply means is that we have bikes available at the docking point. There should be a system to be able to check the bikes that are the number of bikes available at the docking point, the number of um, bikes on a trip, the number of bikes submitted, and all of that. So there's going to be a system in place to check for all of these. And two, there will also be a billing and membership software that will keep track of monthly and daily members who are using the bike in the system. So what this simply means is that um, there's going to be a database for members. So members who are on monthly subscription, and then members who just go in at a particular point in time to um, uh, rent the bike and then use them. So there's going to be a database to capture the entire membership or the entire users of the biking system. And also the billing system will keep track of the time and the bike issued to the person in the system. So this database should be able to keep track of the time a particular person rented a bike, and then the time the person is going to return the bike. All this is going to help in billing the client or billing the user, because when you're able to know the time the person rented a bike and the time the person submitted brought back the bike, you'll be able to bill all of that. So one of the things I realized in doing this whole thing is that we're going to be needing program this entire system. So we can either use JavaScript, Python, whatsoever, and then we're going to have a database somewhere or a server somewhere to be storing all these information. And one of the things we need is an API. So an API simply is an application programming interface, and then API is a way for two or more computer programs to communicate with each other. And then with this one, what I saw is that the best API we can use is the JSON, because JSON simply is the acronym for JavaScript Object Notation, and then JSON should be able to communicate between the client and then the server. JSON, I use JSON because JSON in our current days is the most popular API and then most effective API to use. And then this is an example of how JSON works. So JSON is able to communicate between the client and then the server. So this is just an example or the format with which JSON takes in here, whatever that is in the Excel, make meaning out of it. So the image below shows the currently active users of the bike sharing system. So from the data, almost 50 users are non-active users, and then between 150 to 200 are active users. So you're able to see that over here. So looking here, you're able to see a number of non-active users to be almost 50, and then the number of active users to be between 150 and then 200. So let's talk about the security issues or summary of security requirements and or features. So the security concern arises when at the moment someone rents a bike, then there is a security concern. One, because the data of the person is going to be stored somewhere. Exactly. And then you should be able to make sure that the data of this individual or the data of the customer or the user is very much protected, and then it is not compromised. So once someone rents a bike, then there is a threat to security. And so it is very necessary to correctly identify the individual and also store the records safely. So there's a need to ensure that the records of this individual are stored securely, so much so that they cannot be compromised. It is also important to ensure safety of bikes rented come into the system back on time in the best condition with no damage. So we also have to ensure that bikes rented out come in back to the system in the best of conditions ever, and then with no damage. The data stored is safe and not open to leakage or piracy. So there is a need to ensure that the entire system, so build a firewall around the entire system, and then to also install antivirus and all of that to ensure the data of customers and then clients are stored safely and then secured. Yeah, and then the system connectivity is not harmed by ransomware or hackers, and there are no security compromises. So just like we said, there's a need for us to install antivirus and then also build the entire system. So what is the major task of this entire system? So the major task of the system is to develop a seamless front end and back end system, and then to understanding the requirements of the system, and then implementing a software in the cost effective and efficient manner. So we should be able to deploy the system in a way that is cost effective and then efficient for cost effective for the organization, and then efficient also to customers and then the organization as well. Installing the bike station in the appropriate location. So there's a need for the company to also install the bike in an appropriate location, like in a place that is so much populated, just so that you have a lot of people gaining access to bikes to go about their busy activities and schedules, um, and all of that. Installing tracker devices on the bike and hiring personnel for keeping track of the condition and upkeep of the vehicles. So there's a need for trackers to also be installed on the bikes, so that the bikes are tracked wherever they go. And then installing the service networks and data storage devices, ensuring an effective billing center is installed that keeps a track of individual account users. And lastly, ensuring all safety measures are complied by implemented. So um, in entirety or in totality, we talk about the bike sharing system right from the docking point and then through to uh, through to how it operates and then all of that, and then through to the security of the user and all of that. So these are the references where I picked up my references from. Thank you so much for your time.